Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel, Midnight Zero Astrology. I'm going to make a video about Pisces Sun today, and I am going to try to make them shorter. It seems like you guys want shorter videos, so that's what I'm going to try to do. So as you know, what I think of the Sun is that it's your biggest, brightest star in your birth chart. It's like your own personal Leo, the thing that's going to gain you fame. So what does that mean if you have your Sun in Pisces, the last sign of the zodiac? Well, that is a water sign, and it's mutable, so it means it's overwhelming emotion, no separation between my emotions and your emotions. Because it's not like Cancer and Scorpio, there's no shell, there's no barrier between my emotions and your emotions. I'm saying my because I'm a Pisces Sun. So it's a really vulnerable energy to begin with, and it's ruled by Neptune, the planet of illusions, dreams, afterlife, the biggest mystery of them all. And Jupiter, huge, expansive planet, lucky, abundance, everything that makes you feel good, philosophy. So you have these two energies coming together from these outer planets, meaning that the way I see it translated into Pisces is a huge, abundant, foggy journey that you have to go on to find yourself, because most Pisces suns, I would almost say all of them, were kind of born into the world without really knowing who we are, because we have that lack of separation between us and other people. So if you want to know a Pisces, the best thing you can do, don't even bother looking at their birth chart right away. See the people who have been around them most of their life, because every single Pisces sun has absorbed people around them to some degree. Now that could be a great thing, or a bad thing, or even a neutral thing. It just depends. And because our natural tendency is to absorb other people's energies and take that on, we often just are lost in our free time when we're alone. And we also need a lot of alone time because it's very draining if there's no separation between our emotions and other people's emotions. It's almost like how Virgo's really anxious because they notice every single little detail around them and their minds are really overactive and heated up. Well, Pisces is the exact same way with Virgo, but with emotions. We're very emotionally anxious because we can feel your anger, your anxiety, your sadness on a deep personal level like it's our own. And on top of that, we have our own stuff. So that's why we often retreat and back away from people, and we can be slippery because your emotions and thoughts and everything might just be too much for us, and we can't not hear them. You know, I know you could probably work towards that, but I just know that it's natural, and that's why we need alone time, because we just can't get away from all this overwhelming emotion around us. And this is a good thing, this alone time, because with alone time, Pisces Sun people, this is how you're going to find yourself, because you need to separate yourself from all the loud emotions around you. And that way you'll be able to hone in on what you think, what you feel, what you need. And even if people think you're flaky for this, well, they aren't a Pisces Sun, so just ignore them. They don't understand how hard the Sun is. And the people who kind of are more intuitive will know that, hey, this is just your process and you're going to swim back, because we are the fish. We're the fish going one way and the other way, two fish. Again, those fish don't have shells. They're very vulnerable and tasty. I love to eat fish, so that's how it is. And the people in your life that accept this about you are going to be the people that you want to keep around. So we are that last sign and the last water sign. So why is a mutable water sign the best, the most evolved? It has that God energy. It's the most evolved because it's the highest form of love you can achieve as a human being is manifested through the Pisces Sun, which is very reminiscent of Jesus Christ, who I believe is a Pisces Sun. And I think that his life is just so interesting. So whether you believe in it or not, just hear me out here, because he's an interesting character, real person, depending on where you're coming from. So Jesus is the representation of Pisces in the way that he loved. He loved people, every person, no matter what. And I think one thing he said is so Pisces. He said, how is it a good thing to love someone who's easy to love? Don't the tax collectors also do that? So as a Pisces, because you have this God energy, you might be drawn to love difficult, horrible people sometimes. And it's true, we're just drawn to these really difficult people. We feel like it's our sacred mission to show them that someone loves them. And I think it's because of that Jesus Christ-like energy we have. Jesus is also very emotional, and you can really see that in the Garden of Gethsemane, where he's just really sad. He has a moment alone where he's meditating and talking to God, and he's just sad that he has to die. Like, that's the human part of him. And a lot of times we do get sad, guys, that we have this Christ-like heart, and that's our biggest star in our chart, and we share that with people. We give and sacrifice for people. And sometimes it does make us sad, because it could be like the path of a martyr. It could be a very lonely place to be, because, not everyone is Christ-like, and you might not get that back, and you might not get any appreciation. Virgo, my friend said, is like, in 6th house stuff is kind of like thankless, menial tasks, day-to-day tasks. Well, I think that Pisces is kind of thankless emotional work. Like, it's very important and spiritual, but you just have to, as Pisces, we have to accept that if we have this Christ-like heart and we're going to do stuff, that we just have to do it and be happy with that and not expect stuff back. And on the other end, we have to be careful who we do it for. At the end of the day, we can't be turning the other cheek all the time. And we have to accept that although we're the human beings that are the most Christ-like on this planet, we are actually not Jesus Christ. We are just someone here, a human being in the flesh trying to survive. And we need to learn to be selective about who we help. And this is how we're going to shine. Because we're going to be in the spotlight. The sun wants us to be famous for this beautiful Christ-like heart. And let's not forget Neptune. Neptune is kind of like a magical planet. So not only will we be, fulfilling our sun's needs by helping people or animals, also by adding that extra Neptune fairy dust to everyday life through showing people our art, like getting that Neptune imagination out of our heads and into the real world. Because it's really important as a Pisces that we're invested in things in the real world, because we're so divorced from it. We're the sign that's least comfortable with being a person in the flesh. We're not very associated with our body. We're very divorced from it. We're like an old lady and man ready to let go and be reincarnated into Aries, which no wonder Aries comes after Pisces, starting the cycle all over again, because we're so selfless. And they're like, oh my God, I'm tired of that. Let's recognize the self. So that will be our version of pushing towards the future, Pisces, sun people. We have to do something. We have to be more present into this world. And yes, we do have to escape and withdraw, because that alone time is what we need to get to know ourselves, to separate ourselves from all those loud feelings. But within that alone time, we also need to have a section of it where we devote to our artistic talents that we're going to show people and have something for ourselves in the real world. And I also think that in that time, we do have to I do think it's good to do charity work as a Pisces, because maybe if you're feeding that part of yourself, you're less prone to give it to less deserving people. So volunteering at animal shelters, I just love animals. I would be more happy to help them than people sometimes. Or even like teaching, like I'm a teacher, and I feel like that kind of fills me up in that Pisces way, because I get to help people through that way. And that way, like, maybe we can try to control that part of us that gets often stepped on by society. So I want to give you a good example and a bad example of how a Pisces is really molded by the environment. So if you take a look at the life of Steve Irwin, I love Steve Irwin. I think he's like the best Pisces son ever. I'm so sad he's dead. He was raised in a very supportive environment where his parents really nurtured his love for animals, because they were also animals. So he just really fell in line with that work with exotic animals, and that's what he was called to do. Well, let's look at another Pisces son, Joe Exotic from Tiger King. He's also a Pisces son, raised totally different from Steve Irwin, the crocodile hunter. He was raised in a much more oppressive, aggressive, traditionally masculine environment. So that really affected him, and you could see how one turned a pretty pure path. Like Steve Irwin, in my opinion, I don't really care what PETA says. I think he was a great guy. I think he did a lot of good for animals, and he really showed us his passion through TV, how much he could love these unlovable creatures, crocodiles. That shows you that Christ-like energy, the tendency to love something unlovable. And he really shined in that. He really did make crocodiles seem cute and funny. Like, I would want to pet a crocodile. Okay, just kidding, but I kind of do when I watch him. Joe Exotic, on the other hand, you know, watching him, you can see how he started off so pure, that Steve Irwin way, but you could just see how quick he got corrupted. And I do think because of that, the energies he was around as a kid, like, he just couldn't shake it. And I feel like he forgot who he really was, which as Pisces sun, sometimes we can forget who we really are. Neptune is like a spiritual mirror. So Pisces is the embodiment of that spiritual mirror aspect of Neptune. So whenever you stare into a Pisces, we're going to reflect what spiritual energy you're giving off. If we're just not controlling our energy, that's our natural tendency. And that can work both ways. So sometimes a Pisces sun can stray off path because we realize that we do have this power of a spiritual mirror as a Neptune person. So we either are frustrated because we get misunderstood, because we are kind of that foggy spiritual mirror. People might perceive us as fake or flaky. And on the other hand, because we have this mirror, we can also use this mirror to control how you see us. We can control the amount of fog, the amount of fairy dust. So a lot of times this has to do with our odd relationship with the truth. As a Pisces person, because we are so Christ-like and we have that God energy, we have this deep need for spiritual perfection. And if the best thing you could do for a Pisces because of this is you need to let the Pisces sun in your lives know it's okay for them to show their human, darker sides instead of shunning them for it, because they're already going to be hurting a lot if they did do something wrong to someone. It's a big blow to the ego because this is our huge sunny ego. But the more comfortable you make us feel with messing up and showing our more human tendencies, the more honesty you're going to get out of a Pisces sun. Because if we see that hurt and disappointment in your eyes, like there's no going back, then that reflects back using that spiritual mirror. We look in your eyes and we see something very spiritually ugly inside of ourselves that we don't want to see. So, and a lot of times this is where Pisces can either run away from the situation because we're kind of famous at swimming away when things get hard in that way, or we will be uncomfortable, stick it out, and learn to love that hideous image we see in that spiritual Neptune mirror. If a Pisces sun has mysteriously disappeared in your life, it's either because they don't like what they see about themselves when they look in your eyes, or your energy is just too much for them. Like, it's one or the other. So with this spiritual mirror, we're going to see things in you, and energies you're putting off are going to become our own, and that can kind of pollute our waters and affect us. But it can also uplift us. Like, you could add some magic back into our waters if you're in a great mood. And sometimes the effects are temporary, sometimes they linger on longer than we want to. And this could be, you know, to clean these waters. Sometimes Pisces are drawn to things like drugs in their alone time instead of doing good things for themselves during their alone time. A Pisces needs are not practical, and we're already not associated with our bodies, so drugs aren't that far of a stretch. You know, if we're not connected to our bodies and our needs are just like not easily understood by other people, then why not drugs? I mean, I understand, but I hope you guys don't do that and find more constructive ways to use your alone time. Such as meditation. Meditation is something great for Pisces people to do because it's kind of a way to cleanse your waters, to get the pollution out from other people around you, and to reset yourself. So Jupiter in terms of Pisces is not like in Sagittarius. Jupiter in Pisces is completely submerged in water, and I think that the way that the expansiveness and abundance kind of translates is that we are rich spiritually, which is why we have gifts such as being psychic sometimes, or able to understand illogical things, otherworldly things. A lot of Pisces suns are mediums, I think, because of this. I think it also speaks, like if we're talking about the huge size of Jupiter and, you know, the expansive nature, I think it kind of symbolizes the long journey ahead of us in understanding ourselves, which is the path to happiness really took for us Pisces suns. And I also think it gives us a little bit of luck on the way as long as we're committed, because Jupiter is the planet of luck. Because of Neptune's effect on our chart, I can't believe I forgot to mention this, is why we can't accurately see other people, because if we have trouble seeing ourselves and knowing who we really are, this can kind of lead us to having pretty bad judgment and character, because we are so accepting of people. And I really do think this is like Jupiter and Neptune tag teaming, because Jupiter's so optimistic and Neptune's so foggy. So we want to optimistically believe that the image we see in other people, because we're seeing their potential energy, is a reality versus the actual reality, which can get us into a lot of trouble because we aren't accurately judging people and we're letting oftentimes bad people into our lives. Sometimes Pisces are dangerous because we are always trying to put out that sweet, kind Jesus Christ superstar image. Like, that's our Neptune projection that we actually need people to see for our own ego's sake, because that's what makes us feel good. And when we feel good, we shine brighter. So when we get angry and have ugly feelings, sometimes we just don't know what to do with them. And it's kind of like a volcano effect. It just builds up, and then it just explodes. And people aren't used to seeing that side of us, and they kind of freak out. And sometimes because we're not used to people seeing that side of us, like, we kind of get uncontrollable in that way. And I think that's why sometimes Pisces can do things that are really cruel. If you look at John Wayne Gacy, what he did to people, pretty horrible. And he actually convinced himself that he was doing it for something good. And I think that's kind of what we do sometimes. We'll do something bad and we have to kind of rewrite it in our mind to make ourselves feel good about it, because it's like sometimes we pollute our own waters. As much as other people can pollute our waters, we can too. We can kind of be our own worst enemy in that way. So that's another reason why alone time and meditation and reflection is good for Pisces, and acceptance from other people that are close to us. Like, we have to be able to express anger like an Aries. Like, we're evolving to that because, you know, we're human beings too, and we don't need to store this energy up because it's just going to pollute ourselves. And this kind of has to do with our slippery relationship with the truth. Pisces people often do have a reputation for being people that are hard to get honesty out of, but that's really comes from our big hearts. Like, we don't necessarily not like being honest. We like being honest, but we can't bear to hurt someone. So we know that honesty hurts because it hurts us a lot of the time. So if you're asking us if you look fat in that dress, we're definitely not going to tell you the truth, because we would never want to hurt you. But then again, if this doesn't sound like the Pisces sun in your life, you got to go back to the beginning of my video when I said that we often don't know who we are, and we absorb other people's energies around us. So that person might absorb something else that is blocking other energies of just being a Pisces sun. This is why this is such a hard and complicated sun to figure out. Instead of us running away from the spiritual mirror that we have in our ocean eyes, let us use it for good. So maybe we can use that Neptune pixie dust instead of evading responsibility for ugly things we might do, or ugly parts of ourselves that we see in other people, or ugly parts that we see in them. Maybe we can use this pixie dust to help make magic in boring everyday life. Maybe we can use it to uplift people instead of, you know, being slippery like that. But anyway, guys, I think that our biggest mission as a Pisces sun is to shine using our deep Neptunian, expansive Jupiter nature, and showing people our inner world, because Pisces' inner world is so mysterious. We're very misunderstood, so we need to manifest that in earthly terms and show it off. I don't care what it is, pick something and put that Neptune magic on it to show the world, because that's when your sun's going to shine its brightest and you're going to see your garden grow because of that. Let's make sure we're using that Neptune mirror for something good, and that we're not being Christ-like to our detriment. Those are the two main things that a Pisces sun needs to learn. And also wisely using our alone time to better ourselves, to better know ourselves, so we could be that better person. A lot of times a Pisces will also withdraw because if they can't be the best version of themselves, if they can't be like total Jesus superstar mode, then they're going to withdraw from you. That's another reason. So it might not be because you're toxic or we don't like what we see, we don't like what you see in us, but it might be because we feel like we can't offer you that full Jesus Christ experience, so we're going to back off until we can again. But anyway, guys, I'm not going to go too far into music or anything, but I will be putting my recommendations in my description. And I will say my favorite Pisces sun artist is Jhené Aiko. I just think she's a Pisces treasure trove. But anyway, guys, I hope you loved this video. Please let me know what you think in the comments below, and I will be continuing with Scorpio as my next sun sign. It might already be out by the time you see this. I will see you next time. Midnight telling you bye.